being a part of tonight's exclusive. I appreciate you. So we're going to go ahead and get started with inviting everyone out. And after we have all the invites done, then we will get our guests online, okay? So let's go ahead and get our invites going. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for jumping in. You are appreciated. So we're just getting those links out. Hey everybody, thanks so much. Thank you so much for coming by. You are much appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and invite our guest up. Thank you so much, Officer Nic, for coming by. Live with Miss Diva podcast here in the Set It Off Kingdom. Welcome from around the globe. I appreciate you guys so much. Shout out to my tops in the United States, in Brazil, in Canada. You guys are highly appreciated. In the Netherlands, you're appreciated. In India, you are appreciated. Thank you for coming by to this exclusive and enjoy the show. Welcome, Officer Nic. Thank you so much for coming by the Diva podcast. You guys ready to go ahead and get started? Thank you so much for stopping by. Crimson Hood, say hello to my top. You guys follow my top. That's the Sugar Honey Iced Tea. Thank you so much for coming by to the Diva podcast. And Officer Nic, can you see us?
I can see you, but I don't know if you can see me.
Okay, we see you and you're frozen. What we usually tell our guests is to come back out, restart, and come back in.
I'll come back in.
Okay. So thank you guys. Diamond Girl, how are you? Thank you for coming by. Appreciate you. You guys follow my tops, Crimson Hood. You guys follow Ask Diva fan page. They are working tirelessly every day. Thank you so much for showing them all kinds of love. We appreciate it. Okay, we're going to get our guests back on shortly. And until then, you guys enjoy the music. How's everyone's night going? Let's go ahead and check in for this broadcast. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for the new follows. let me text our guests to make sure your Wi-Fi is on. I forgot to say that part. Also, okay, we got you.
Okay.
We have you. Sorry, let's get the music on. All right, we have you. Perfect. Officer Nic, thank you so much for coming by. So, I know that you know and you're out there every day, so you understand why all of the fans have been having so many questions. And there's a lot of discussion going on, confusion going on with what we're looking at. And we only can rely on media. We only can rely on social media posts that are shared, things like that. So it is okay if you go in and out of, we can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so first we need to know about you. So tell us your education level and when did you join the police force?
So I recently graduated college. So I have my bachelor's in criminal justice. I got hired on in my department about a year ago, and they sent me to the academy last June, and I graduated the academy in November, and so I've been a police officer since November 2019.
Alrighty, and so are you? You have your bachelor's. You say that's very impressive, but you had your job before you got your bachelor's, so you were set on your career, right?
Yeah.
All right, and so what made you want to become a police officer?
I've always wanted to work in the line of service, so it was like one of those things where it was just so natural. And whenever I think in high school I took a law enforcement class, it was always interesting. So that's what motivated me to start my criminal justice degree. Whenever I got to college, and I was still planning on going to the military after I started college, but I had like some police recruiters come to my class one time, and they spoke with me, and that kind of motivated me to go this route to law enforcement. Right,
so it is under the impression by so many that they force you to say yes, but did they just inspire you or did they force you? Missy Delight, thank you for coming back. Thank you for joining.
No, it wasn't anything forced. It was just more of a, they were just like motivated me. It was from a bigger department. They wanted some more help, so they're trying to recruit any and everybody. They still motivated me in a way to join law enforcement. So that's what I did.
Thank you so much. And Missy over there in Baltimore, thank you for sharing that. So you can imagine I have a lot of questions that have been sent my way. First one is there's a perception that the current academy does not prepare police officers for being on the streets. So, do you feel, for the time that you've been in, that the academy prepared you for what you're looking at today?
Yes and no. So the academy basically, it's like going to school, pretty much. That's what it is. You're learning the academic side of law enforcement. So you get taught all the laws and everything like that. Obviously, we do scenario training.
Right.
We do defensive tactics, firearms training, all types of training where it can help you once you're in the real world. But you learn all of the stuff that you're gonna do. You learn things, and some things you take with you. But most of the stuff you're going to learn is when you get back to your department and start field training. And that's when, that's what really prepares you for the job. I mean, the academy does what it's supposed to do. They kind of groom you, but your department is what determines how you're going to turn out. Or it's you too, but they want to train you up to how they want. So it's like you have to meet your department's expectations. So.
Right. And so when you get in the academy, you're being taught just the basic books of it all and how it works. And then the streets are going to teach you, when you get out there. What mentors did you have in your life that prepared you for a host of things that you'll see in adulthood? Who can you credit? I know you have a lot of mentors, but so who can you narrow it down? That probably will take us all day, but who can you say that you ran into barbershop life? What does a young person see in order to get them ready for what may be the decision to be a law enforcement officer?
I mean, it's just mainly family. I always want to make my family proud. My mom, sisters, and everything. Cousins, grandma. Those are the main things. Main people that motivated me. I had a lot of mentors. Friends that ended up becoming family. That grew me to up to where I am today. But it was just my main motivation for all my family. No matter what, if I would have chosen law enforcement or not, I've always had my family in mind. I just want to be like a good example for them. And other kids too that come from types of neighborhoods or types of cities that I come from.
Right, exactly. And what is it like every day? Is there action every day, or has the protest given you guys more action than normal? So is there constant what we see on the cameras during the 2020 protest? Is that an everyday occurrence, or what's an everyday like with the law enforcement?
Law enforcement, it's not exactly what you see on TV. So most of the time, it's like 95%. It's like it can be boring or you're doing paperwork. 95% of the time, that's what it is. Then there's that 5% where it's like it can be heavily action packed. You're doing things, adrenaline pumping, and all types of things that can get you going like that. But most of the time, things aren't really as how you see it on TV or in movies. It's not like that every day.
Right. And so when it comes to what we're seeing happen in the news, we're going to go deeper into that, you guys. Yes, we are. So I'm looking at some questions, and we're going to go into that. First, I want to know, how old are you, and then what is it like being an African-American law enforcement officer?
So how old are you?
How old are you, and what is it like being an African-American law enforcement officer?
So I'm 23. What it's like being African American officer, police officer. I don't know, because I guess growing up, or at least things you see on TV, you're kind of taught, or you have the assumption that it's us against the police, basically, type of thing. And it's all like that's how. You kind of, or not necessarily brought up, not how I was brought up, it was just like, that was just something I assumed that, like, if you're black, then do you have to dislike the police? That's not always, true, and just from being in law enforcement, or at least me being African American, coming in contact with other African Americans, I've had, some pretty good, interactions with them. Sometimes, like, you're going to see things, you're like, or like, sometimes people have certain political views or things like that you don't necessarily agree with, that you don't necessarily see aligned with, an African American culture, but
right.
That's how it is. That's in every job. It's,
right. It is.
Yeah. It's not just law enforcement, but it is like because it's a different type of feeling because you don't see that every day. You don't. I mean, there are a good number of black officers out there, but it's not something you see every day. So it feels good because you're like in a. Whenever I interact with other black police officers, you're like it's almost feel like it's like a close knit type of thing that everybody can kind of relate to each other whenever you come in contact with another African American officer. So.
Right, and kind of like we're like the we're civilians to you guys, so you guys have your own world, your own language. In a lot of jobs, we just don't talk about political stuff. Do you guys have in your particular unit instructions to kind of lay low on the political topic?
I mean, people talk about it. Not saying it's never discussed, but it's not something that we're gonna be heavily focused on. Mainly we're talking about the job and itself. That's what the main topic is. Or we're interacting with each other, we're talking about personal things in our lives. But politics, at least for my department, is not something that's heavily talked about.
Well, we understand that. Okay, thank you guys for stopping by to show a lot of love. Make sure that you follow the top. We appreciate that, and I'm going to make sure that is shared out, and we're going to go in and check in. All righty, 44 people trying to hold on. Send your questions at the end. I promise you that I'm going to try to get them all answered, and I will open your beam. I'm going to close it right now so that we don't get anybody interrupting the interview, and then I'll open it back up so you guys can jump in the beam, okay? So I appreciate the enthusiasm about doing so. Misty Delight, thank you for the stars. Crimson Hood, thank you for the love. Appreciate the cash. I can use the points, so thank you. All right, so I want to talk about dispatch calls, and my fans are used to me having to be a little dramatic, so I'm gonna be Amy Cooper, and I'm calling, and there's a guy, and he's telling me that I can't walk my dog, and my dog's not on the leash, and that's not his business. So I'm gonna activate a call to the police. What do you guys do with individual dispatch calls? How do you understand in your own mind what's serious, what's not serious, and how to arrive at the call?
So I guess when you originally dispatched to a call, you're usually the information is usually brief. Basically, they'll call your call sign and like a number, so you could be number 202. So they'll say 202, and you respond back, and they're like, well, we have a call at 1513 West Oak Street, and it's this and that, or it could be like a disturbance or something like that. We don't really know, but it's just like, okay, I'm en route to that call. And then while you're on your way there, you get more information about what's going on while that person, because obviously, if you're getting called there, someone called 911. So while the dispatch is talking with, the person on the phone, I'm en route, and they're just relaying more information as we get there. And then once we get there, we kind of resolve the information and figure out what this is a criminal issue, which obviously we can enforce, or if it's a civil issue, which you say, hey, that's not something we can really help you out with. You're gonna have to handle it on your own. So that where we're at, so police officers, we enforce the law, criminal law, but sometimes people call and it's usually it could be a civil issue. Like, well, I can't really help you with that because that's something that y'all could take care of in a small claims court or something like that.
Right.
But we can usually something we can. But we can still help out by talking with them. Maybe we can mediate things. But as far as enforcing like a civil issue, that's not something we can do.
All right. Now, what makes you arrive to the scene and which to me, it can be read different ways. What makes you put your hand on your gun at the scene? What about the dispatch call makes you feel like I need to grab for my taser or gun?
Like I said, that it all depends. So it could be like I said, it's depending on the type of call it is. It can be a person with a gun or a person with a knife type of call. But just because a person has a gun or a knife doesn't always mean they're doing something. I work in Texas, so everyone has guns. So a person can have a gun on their hip, on their holster, and someone could call it in like a person with a gun, and you wouldn't necessarily go up to that, or you're gonna approach it cautiously, but you're not gonna just run up to that person, guns drawn, unless it's absolutely necessary. Because or if it's an active shooter type situation, then obviously you're gonna approach it cautiously, but you're gonna have your guns drawn, those type of things that you just being cautious, and it's all about safety at the end of the day.
So is it instinct that guides? What exactly? What do you tap into that makes you know that person that's just a gun holder isn't about to go over a theater, shoot up something? Like, how do you separate those things?
It's just, like I said, it just all depends. When you originally get the call, most of the time the information is going to be brief, so you're not going to necessarily know right away. But as more information comes in over the radio, you're like, okay, that doesn't necessarily sound like a person that is trying to shoot something up or shoot somebody up. It sounds like more like a person that's just walking around with a gun, or sometimes, like I said, in Texas, everyone has a gun, so certain things they're not legal. You can have you can walk down the street with a shotgun, or as long as you're not wielding it around and pointing at all types of different people, that's not legal to do. So.
No. That's scary, just knowing that everybody can walk around, because if they're irresponsible, then we have to worry about someone grabbing their gun. So that's important. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so you told us about are all of your arrests alike? And when I say about your arrests, how do you know I'm going to make them sit down on the ground? How do you know I'm going to handcuff them and make them sit down on the ground? At what point makes a person put a human being on the ground and make their face touch the nasty street? How does it get to that point?
Every situation is different, so not every arrest is the same. Not every arrestee or suspect or subject, they're not all the same. So sometimes you can talk people into the cuffs. You say, hey, this is what's going on, and now you're under arrest. And most of the time, those people, like almost 97% of the time, people are going to do exactly what you say, and it's not going to be an issue. You put her in cuffs, you take her to jail, and that's the end of the story.
Right.
But it's that 3% of people that say, like, hey, I'm not going to jail, I don't care what you say. And those people are more likely to fight with you. And when they fight with you, you obviously have to do your best to restrain them. So it could involve, putting that person to the ground just to put them in cuffs. Then once they're in cuffs, you pick them up and then you do as you usually do. You don't treat them bad afterwards, or it's just, it's an upsetting thing. It's a bad day. When you go to jail, it's a bad day.
Right.
So we understand people are upset, but when they fight, we have to do our best to keep that person and ourselves safe, or any other person safe. So and that's the whole point of the handcuffs, because it's a safety thing. It's not just because we just want to put anybody on cuffs. It's all for safety.
Now that's my question: is the handcuffs? I guess this is like one for all of America. We want to know: does handcuffs mean an automatic arrest?
No.
And you kind of just said that. So when a person gets the handcuffs, there's no need for them to go too ballistic, right? Because it may not mean that they're going to jail. Because it's a thought that if I get handcuffed, I'm going to jail. Does that mean jail?
No, it does not mean jail. Not all the time. Sometimes you can be handcuffed just for like certain situations, you could. It could be a situation where maybe it's just a fight that broke out, and the officers responding and trying to get everything under control and get everyone safe. You know, everybody might be put in handcuffs just for the time being, before we can get things figured out, and either we decide that hey, it's time for this person to go to jail, or we say hey, this person is just being temporarily detained, and he'll be eventually released. So that handcuffs doesn't always mean you're under arrest.
All right, so look here, Officer Nic, the questions are getting thicker. I'm going to have to take you into some things that are going to take us closer to the current event. So what we're going to do is, thanks to Jay-Z, we're going to survive a little bit. So let's survive a little bit with Jay-Z, you guys. Is it because I'm black? Still, thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for returning from the water break. You guys are still there? 514 deep. Keep it up. Thank you for being across the globe. We appreciate you so much for that. Alrighty, so now the question that comes, what do you, someone said, it was an attorney for one of the officers in the Minneapolis incident. He said that the individual should have put her phone down and jumped in to help. What are your thoughts on an attorney instructing a bystander to put their phone down and jump in and save a life?
I hear that, but that's kind of easier said than done. Because, like I said before, everything's about safety with us. So it's for the safety of the person that we're arrested, and the safety of ourselves and everyone else that's around us.
Right.
So with someone just randomly jumping in, not knowing what's going on or anything like that, not necessarily talking about the George Floyd incident, but just certain things, like if someone just jump in while we're trying to attempt to arrest someone, that can turn out bad, and that can, end up, that person can end up going to jail too for, resisting arrest. So that can turn out bad for just, people just randomly jumping in on every contact, that police have with civilians. So that wouldn't be a good idea. And you got to think about that, the safety of that bystander, that who knows to that person if he would have just jumped in. I think, it would help. I think those officers probably should have stepped in. They should have, done something, besides them just sitting around or just watching. But, besides from someone being a bystander, that wouldn't be a great idea.
Right. Okay. I don't think that's safe. You have a viewpoint, or do you have a viewpoint regarding people with phones? Does that bother you? I've seen officers yell. I've seen officers throw phones. I've seen officers throw people to the ground. What are your viewpoints on someone holding a phone in your face while you're doing your job?
It's not a big deal because, I have this camera right here. So that's why I'm not worried about someone recording because I'm always on camera. So it's not,
right.
It's not something that it's a big deal to me. People record, and I think that if that would help them feel safe during the interaction, I'm all for it.
So he says, you say, I have a camera, you have a camera, we're keeping each other safe with our cameras.
Yeah,
that's good. That's a really good way. You guys make that go viral. That's a really good way to look at that without that being something to be distracted on. Okay, so we have a pronunciation. Velociraptor. Got it. Dinosaur. Okay, got it. Sorry about that. You guys go follow Velociraptor. Thank you so much. Okay, so complying versus complaining. I see a lot of yelling happen. I don't know if it's adrenaline. I'm not sure what's happening, but I don't want to talk about. We'll talk about this, and then we'll talk about certain situations. But it's hard for someone to tell another person to comply because they may not feel like they need to comply. So, what's the better route when it comes to complying versus complaining?
I believe that it's always better to comply because you may feel like you've done wrong or something like that. And not every situation is the same. I know that. So if someone, an officer's doing something wrong, I would say that, comply for the moment, and once everything's over, if you were truly done wrong, you go in, you go make a complaint on that situation. I would say not to escalate things. The officer shouldn't escalate things, and the person that, the civilian shouldn't escalate things either. So everyone should just try to keep things, as calm as possible for, what's reasonable, obviously, because not every situation is the same. So,
right.
I think it's better to just comply in the moment and, have your day in court, or you can make a complaint against the officer, and that should be investigated. And if the officer was wrong, then he should be punished for it.
Right. Right. It's so interesting that's a good point, that live through to my view is live to the moment to be able to complain. Because we never know what happens when emotions get escalated, right? So, it's to see an officer behave one way and then see an officer do something another way. I will start with the example that Dave Chappelle gave on 846 last night. So, the officer that pulled over, according to Dave Chappelle on this special last night, the officer that pulled over John Crawford actually pulled him over the day before and just gave him a warning and sent him on his way. He said the very next day he watches the news and that same officer immediately pulled over John Crawford, shot him, killed him. So, what's your thought on these officers with the incidents that are happening? Did they snap? What makes them be a good guy one day and then just go nuts on African Americans the next day?
All right, part 2 will start shortly. Thank you for stopping by for part 1.